In April 1912, the luxurious ocean liner RMS Titanic began its historic maiden voyage across the Atlantic Ocean. Please subscribe. For the wealthy passengers who traveled in first class, life aboard the Titanic was unlike anything the world had ever seen before. The ship was designed not only to transport passengers from Europe to America, but to provide an experience that rivaled the finest hotels on land. For the first-class passengers, the Titanic was more than a ship. It was a floating palace of luxury, elegance, and comfort. First-class accommodation on the Titanic was created for the richest and most influential people of the early 20th century. Business magnates, aristocrats, wealthy families, and famous personalities boarded the ship expecting the highest level of service and luxury. Among these passengers was John Jacob Astor, one of the wealthiest men in the world at the time. His presence alone symbolized the exclusive nature of the ship's first-class section. The moment first-class passengers stepped aboard the Titanic, they entered an environment designed to impress. Their cabins were spacious and beautifully decorated, with rich wood paneling, comfortable beds, elegant carpets, and electric lighting, something still considered modern in 1912. Some of the most expensive suites even included private promenades, where passengers could step outside and enjoy fresh ocean air without leaving their rooms. Walking through the first-class areas of the Titanic felt like entering a grand European hotel. The ship's most famous feature was its magnificent staircase, often referred to as the Grand Staircase. It connected several decks and was decorated with carved oak panels, elegant iron railings, and a beautiful glass dome that allowed sunlight to shine through during the day. For first-class passengers, this staircase became a social meeting place where people gathered, talked, and admired the ship's stunning design. Dining was one of the most important experiences for first-class passengers. The first-class dining room aboard the Titanic was one of the largest and most luxurious restaurants ever built on a ship. Passengers were served elaborate multi-course meals prepared by skilled chefs. Dishes included oysters, fresh fish, roasted meats, vegetables, and rich desserts. The menu rivaled the finest restaurants in Europe and America. Some passengers chose to dine in an even more exclusive area known as the a la carte restaurant. This restaurant offered a private and intimate atmosphere where guests could enjoy gourmet meals at additional costs. Wealthy travelers often preferred this setting because it felt more like dining in a luxurious Parisian restaurant than on a ship crossing the ocean. Beyond dining, first-class passengers had access to a wide range of entertainment and relaxation facilities. There was a reading and writing room where guests could sit quietly with books or write letters to friends and family. The decor of this room featured delicate white furniture and large windows that overlooked the sea. Another popular location was the first-class lounge. Here, passengers gathered to socialize, drink tea, and listen to music performed by the ship's orchestra. Conversations often focused on business opportunities, travel stories, or social events waiting for them in America. The Titanic also offered recreational activities rarely seen on ships of that era. First-class passengers could exercise in the ship's gymnasium, which contained modern equipment such as rowing machines, exercise bicycles, and mechanical horses. These devices were operated under the supervision of trained staff and provided entertainment as well as physical activity. One of the most remarkable luxuries on the Titanic was its swimming pool. Located deep within the ship, the pool allowed passengers to swim even while traveling across the Atlantic Ocean. Nearby were Turkish baths, which offered heated rooms, massages, and relaxation treatments inspired by traditional spa culture. For many wealthy passengers, daily life aboard the Titanic followed a comfortable routine. Mornings often began with breakfast served in their cabins or in the dining room. Afterward, passengers might take a walk along the promenade deck, enjoying the fresh ocean air while watching the endless horizon. Afternoons were often spent socializing, reading, or playing games such as cards and chess. Some passengers visited the library, while others relaxed in lounges or watched the ocean from comfortable deck chairs. Evenings were the most elegant time aboard the Titanic. First-class passengers dressed in formal clothing before attending dinner. Men wore tuxedos, while women appeared in beautiful evening gowns. After dinner, many guests visited the lounge or smoking room to continue conversations late into the night. Despite all this luxury, the ship also relied on a large number of crew members who worked tirelessly behind the scenes. Stewards, waiters, cooks, cleaners, and engineers ensured that every part of the ship operated smoothly. Their work allowed first-class passengers to experience a level of comfort that felt effortless. However, this luxurious world existed alongside very different experiences elsewhere on the ship. While first-class passengers enjoyed grand suites and gourmet meals, second-class and third-class travelers lived in simpler conditions. The Titanic was a reflection of the social structure of the early 20th century, where wealth and class strongly influenced daily life. On the evening of April 14, 1912, many first-class passengers gathered in the dining room for another elegant dinner. Conversations were lively, laughter filled the room, and the atmosphere was relaxed. No one imagined that within a few hours the ship would face disaster. At 11:40 p.m., the Titanic struck an iceberg in the freezing waters of the North Atlantic. At first, the collision seemed minor, and many passengers remained calm. But soon the truth became clear: the ship was taking on water and would eventually sink. Crew members began waking passengers and instructing them to put on life jackets. The elegant lounges, dining rooms, and corridors that had been filled with luxury only hours earlier were suddenly filled with confusion and urgency. Lifeboats were prepared on the upper decks, while officers ordered women and children to board first. Some first-class passengers reached lifeboats quickly because their cabins were located closer to the boat deck. Others remained on board, believing the ship was too strong to sink. Within just a few hours, the magnificent ship that had represented the peak of luxury and technology disappeared beneath the icy Atlantic Ocean. More than 1,500 people lost their lives that night. Today, historians continue to study what life was like for first-class passengers aboard the Titanic. Their stories reveal a fascinating world of luxury and social status, one that existed only briefly before tragedy changed everything. The Titanic remains one of the most famous ships in history, not only because of the disaster but because of the incredible contrast between the luxury experienced by its passengers and the tragedy that followed.